in a way, when we do bonsai, we're kind of replicating the natural environment of a tree like this. Now, I looked at this tree. This would be a great tree to collect for a bonsai. It's got a big base that's partly covered up here. However, when I looked at the tree, I pried it up a little bit to see what kind of a root system it had. It had a very, very small root system. The chances are that the tree would not survive if it was collected. And so rather than risking it, what I did was I raked up quite a bit of gravel and mixed in some old needles and duff, and so I built up a soil thing around the base of the tree, and then I'm going to hold it in place with this piece of deadwood here. And if I'm lucky, maybe in a few years this tree will develop enough new roots in this stuff that it could be collectible, but we don't know. But certainly right now you would not want to try and collect this tree. But I just wanted to mention some things about the growth. I get asked frequently why these trees are so contorted. If you look at it, every place where the tree curves, where there's a sharp bend, there's a nub of a dead branch. So basically, this is kind of like the clip and grow technique of bonsai. In other words, like the tree was growing up here, the leader died, so a side branch, which was probably quite long already, took over. Right here, where it turned sharply right there, there's a dead nub. So the leader died again. Maybe a porcupine got it, maybe wind, hail, who knows. Insects, a side branch took over again. And the same thing, with every turn on this tree, there's a dead branch where the leader, the growing tip of the tree died and a side branch took over. And over hundreds of years, that creates this very contorted shape. And then we have this, this deadwood, which if we clean this up, this would be quite beautiful. And basically that's caused by, I think, mostly by the death of a branch, by insects or disease or wind. It kills a branch, and then the cambium that branch was feeding dies, and after it dies the bark just peels away, and then the wind just continues to open it up and carve on it, and eventually after a century or so you end up with a very beautiful kind of exquisite plant. So now I'm just going to put this piece of deadwood back up here, and we're going to leave this one alone because I don't think it would be a good one to collect. Maybe we'll put a little more, put some more rocks and gravel up in there, some stuff to hold this in place. Look at this tree. This is just a dynamic pine. I love this tree. I first found this tree about, I guess about 8 years ago. And as you can see, it's growing into a crevice here. There's really no way to collect a plant like this. And in fact, I wouldn't even try it. But it's just a lovely tree, and every now and then I come back to look at it. This tree, you might think because of the huge size of the base and all the gnarly curves and everything that it's really, really ancient. And it looks quite ancient, but I really don't think it is, for a couple of reasons. One, if you look at the crown of the tree, it's very full and healthy. It doesn't have that really sparse, kind of starved look that these trees get when they're really, really old. The other thing is, when a tree gets pinched into a crack like this, what tends to happen is it can't put out any lateral roots to support itself. So when the wind blows, it tends to whip back and forth, which injures the base of the tree. And the injury causes scar tissue to form, which causes the base to swell. And eventually the injury causes the tree to have this huge, enormous base, which holds the tree in place instead of lateral roots. And that may make the tree look a lot older than it really is. I would probably estimate this tree between, it's really hard to say because it's got characteristics of a young and an old tree, but I would say between 125 and, you know, maybe 175, something like that. But just a wonderful plant. And you see a lot of this. You know, probably most of the pines that you see really are not in a situation where they'll be collectible. I estimate around 1 out of 100 can actually be lifted and also has the characteristics that we want for bonsai. But, you know, what a great plant that is. Now where we're going to collect today, if you'll notice, this tree's got a stripe of blue paint on it. We're inside the marked boundary of a timber sale here. And these trees that are marked are the trees that are going to be left. The the trees that are not marked, it's at the logger's option whether he's going to take it or not. Now this sale was marked a few years ago and it'll be cut soon, very soon. So any tree we take out of here, if we don't collect it, it's probably going to be gone within the next couple of years because they're going to be coming through here and cutting and skidding logs. And then when they're done with that, they hire thinning crews to go in and clean up the area, and generally they any tree that's kind of contorted or twisted, basically the things that we want for bonsai, is going to be removed because in a timber production area you want to be focusing on growing nice, straight, healthy trees that you can get a wood product out of. And now not all of our forest lands are managed for that purpose, but this area is. Now if you'll notice right behind me, up where my boy is, there's a very nice big ponderosa pine up there, and that's the tree I'm going to try and go collect here in a few minutes. This tree's growing on a boulder at about 5,500 feet, maybe 5,800 feet elevation. And after checking the tree, the main thing I do is see if the tree will wiggle, is to look at the base of the roots. And with this one, I mean, I'm amazed the wind hasn't taken this out of here a long, long time ago, but it hasn't. This tree it's not only very loose, but when you wiggle it, I don't know if you can see on the camera there, the whole root system moves with the tree. So that lets me know I got a very well connected, good mat of fine roots that's connected right to the base of the tree. And a tree like this, you know, the survival rate's extremely high, in the upper 90s. And as I was saying before, you know, this tree is probably going to be either hit by another falling tree or taken out by thinners within the next year or two. So we're gonna try and take it out of here today. The first thing I do when collecting a tree like this, basically, is to clean away all the duff so I can actually look at what is the root system. And the duff just kind of covers that up. So I want to scrape away as much of this as I need to allow myself to see. Now if you'll notice here, you see these really fine hair roots coming out? I mean, all of this stuff, this is old decomposed needles and bark here. Not really what you'd call a soil mix. If you look at that, it's basically just the root system for the tree integrated into a mix of its own decomposed bark and needles, and that's really perfect. I mean, that's the best situation you can get, really. Much better than soil. Now here again, I'm going to move the tree, and if you look at that, you can see, for one, the tree is not very firmly attached to the rock, and for another, this whole root system moves with the plant. I mean, we're very firmly attached here. Even when I push it this way, you can see all this raises up, and see all the roots sticking out of this? That's an ideal situation here. So this is basically a perfect situation for collecting a tree for bonsai. With this tree, we could collect, if we wanted to, 100% of the root system. But of course we don't. That would be far too many roots to go into a bonsai pot. So since I got a very good, well-established root system, I'm not afraid to cut off any of it and leave just what I want to transplant. So probably I want to cut it like this, kind of around here and around here, roughly about the size of the pot that I imagine this tree would look good sitting in. And once it's done, this tree is loose enough. I think probably with this one, just about all we have to do is cut those roots and the tree will be free. Now obviously we have a really big root here,